Hello, Fairfield. You are watching another exciting episode of Fairfield 2.0, introducing Fairfield to Fairfield. And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be interviewing, first of all, Michael Halley, who's on the City Council, an elected official, my first elected official on this show. I really appreciate your time. And later on, we're going to have Heather Miller and also Gavin Jones join us for what we'll call the musical segment. But first, let's get caught up with Michael Halley. Michael, you're on the City Council, and there are a couple of burning issues lately. Not really. I don't want to put you on the spot on this, but there are a couple things. For instance, the quiet zone. Mm-hmm. What is the progress that's happening? Or maybe you should give a little bit of history as far as the quiet zone and where we're at right now.
All right. History is, I believe the project actually began in around 2001 in terms of preliminary exploration, talking with the Department of Transportation about what it would entail. And then it kind of just remained an idea until around 2007 when a very active and inspired citizen, Bill Blackmore, and a small group of people took it as a project to work with the City Council. I think it was Councilman John Revolinsky was their contact at the council at the time, and really try to move the project, move it forward. They did some fundraising and some initial exploration as to what it would take, and they were definitely on the right track, and I don't mean that as a pun, but it's too easy with this one, you know.
We're going to get going. Yeah. It's going to be horrible.
All right. Well, anyway, they had things moving nicely, but then there were some little issues of essentially, if you want to have a quiet zone, the Federal Railroad Administration requires that you put in supplemental safety measures, some sort of enhancements at the crossings to make the crossings as safe or safer than they are with the train horns. Mm-hmm. So you can't just ask the engineers to stop blowing and do nothing, right? Because statistics have proven accidents go up, which is not all that surprising. So the Federal Railroad Administration came up with a bunch of different safety measures that can be added, and they found that the most effective are actually the most simple, and those are medians, which is essentially a curb that runs down the middle of the two lanes, and it starts where that gate arm lowers when a train comes, goes back about 100 feet, and they're called non-traversable medians because they're wide enough and tall enough that you really would not want to try to pull your vehicle over it without damaging it. So you essentially, when you pull up and the gate arm lowers, if you're in your vehicle, you are now in a channel, and will stay in that channel until that arm opens and you can go through. Because what happens with the current situation, I see it a lot, and people tell me they do this quite a lot, is the gate arm comes down, you're stopped there, you're the first car, and you're listening for the horn, and you're gauging, I wonder how far that train is. I think the train's far enough away that I have time, because I'm a busy person, I don't want to wait for it. I'm just going to go around the gate arm, go through the crossing, and get on my way.
See, me, chicken, never.
Well, nope. You're a smart chicken, because in 2007, a college student here did that at the 23rd Street crossing and got struck by the train, and is lucky to be alive, and he had to be flown up to Iowa City Hospital with some serious injuries.
Yeah, I know who this is. Actually, a friend of mine. It's unfortunate.
And if you see the scars on his face from that, he'll carry it for the rest of his life. So there's a...
Still a good-looking guy, though.
Yes, but, handsome guy, and the scars, I think, make him look more rugged. You know?
That's right, he's a rugged man.
But I think the cautionary tale is it could have been his life.
Yeah.
And he has a concussion, so he doesn't remember the impact. But But the proof is there. So the medians, you put those at the crossings. Well, we had a little hiccup at 4th Street where there's some extra tracks and some stuff. And it was all at this phase of not quite sure how to proceed. We're kind of getting there, but we're not locked into what our plan's going to be. And then I got on the council in 2010 and was assigned to the Public Safety Transportation Committee. And the chair of that committee, Ron Adams, said, I'm saturated with this project. He passed it off to me, and he gave me a simple directive. Let's get it done right. I said, okay. So Burlington, Iowa had just had their quiet zone established in actually Christmas Day of 2009. And I read about that in the local press, and I said, let's go talk to a city that accomplished what we're trying to do. Because maybe they'll have some pointers for us. So Bill Blackmore and I traveled to Burlington in March 2010. Met with the city manager and some other people who were instrumental in that. And they gave us this thick booklet prepared of every step they took and the name of the consulting agency they used, which is a consultant agency out of Minneapolis, and the consultant himself. So once we had him and used the privately raised funds to pay for his consulting services, he came to town that spring. He took it all, made a real good plan, a solid plan, and things just really started moving. And we were able to submit an application in 2010, and everything looked like, oh, maybe we'll get this done in 2011.
Yeah.
Then there was another little hiccup of the railroad company.
I know. Is it also the cost?
It wasn't the cost as necessarily. It was this spur line out of the 23rd and 9th Street crossings that's used by Performance Pipe that the railroad company wanted us to pay for an upgrade on.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And gee, how much did that cost?
It would have been about $212,000, which would have doubled the cost of the whole project. So months went by where I was gently nudging us in the direction of, I don't think we need to pay that. I don't think we need that upgrade. I kept taking pictures and sending it to the FRA headquarters in D.C. and tried to stay in non-pushy communication. You know, hey, how's it going? We really like to get an answer back. The guy would be out on surgery, you know, all these different delays. But finally, in the fall of 2011, last fall, we were told, you will not need to pay for those upgrades. So it was a long wait, but we dodged a bullet because that would have sunk the project. So from there, it was just a matter of finalizing our plan and then getting our engineer documents, fundraising, and now this week, construction has begun. Construction is scheduled to be finished by September 19th, after which there's a 21-day period where the city files one last bit of paperwork with the Federal Railroad Administration called the Notice of Establishment, and that's just a comment period. If any of the players, the DOT, the railroad company, or the FRA themselves, has an issue with anything we did, I mean, we showed them what we were going to do, and then after construction, we just have to prove that we did it right. Yeah. And that means that the dimensions of the medians are proper, that the height's the right height, the width's the right width, the length is right, everything's done right. And then they'll grant us our quiet zone. And then the trains will no longer be required to sound their horns, but they may still sound them if they see anything in the tracks.
Yeah, right.
So we'll still hear an occasional horn blast.
Right. At which point you'll go out there yourself. You will remove whatever that is.
Exactly.
I also, you know, I wanted to ask you the time frame that we're looking at between, what is it, September, when all of the stuff will be in place, and then when it's actually implemented. When do you predict we might actually have our quiet zone?
I'm saying October. So when October 1st comes, I don't want anybody calling and saying, you said October, because I get that.
And you can email Michael that.
Yeah, well, I'll just say end of October. Let's just say that. I've been saying fall. So fall gets us technically to December 21st. So that's the first day of winter, right?
It's still cool. If that thing happens, it's so much better.
It's just one of these things where I've been, you know, when I said the soonest we can get it done is 2011, then I realized people hear 2011 or done in 2011. They hear a portion of that message. I got an email from a guy who told me that he was cursing my name at night when the trains were keeping him awake. And he said, you had promised we'd be done last year. And I said, no, I know for a fact I didn't promise, but I probably said, we're looking at it, or hopefully. And so I'm learning as I go.
Mike, you do what you do.
You do what you do. I'm learning as I go to under-promise and over-deliver rather than the other way around. Because if you say a date, or you say a number or anything that somebody can latch onto, and then it changes, you're looking at disappointment. Yeah. You read my mind.
On the other hand, when they erect that bronze statue to you in the square because you've actually achieved this,
I'm one of many who've made this happen.
And thank God for all the people who really did make contributions, who pushed. And the velvet persuasion that you used, very nice.
Some of it was velvet, cool. Some of it was the glove came off. But you know, I mean, it's a skill that I didn't know I had, of when to be gentle and when to be a little more firm.
Assertive, firm.
Yeah, it's not aggressive. It's just firm. This was supposed to be a 6-month process. We're at month 9. Can we get a response next week? You start saying it that way.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Suddenly, after waiting for weeks and months, I just said, this is when we're expecting a response. And then you start getting a response. So sometimes you just need to just say it that way.
Well, and I'm big on, my big frustrations come from, and I've actually taken courses in this, is on commitment. Like if you say you're going to do something, you do it, and it actually structures something cool. It's like a contract between you and whoever you're saying you're going to do the thing with. So I'm very big on it. But and I also know, and I imagine with you, because you have had a history of being on various councils and running this and running that. And actually, let's go into that right now. But my point is that you were able to, somebody like you, it was really needed to have somebody like you to sort of like maybe be the face of what this was, or not so much the face of it, but the person who was the hitter there. The slugger, because like I said, when this gets done, it's going to reflect on not just the amount of work that you put into this, but your history. I mean, it led to this point. Let's go into some of your history. Actually, you have always been Mr. Civics.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, the things I do know about you are things like, you went to MUM and you had somehow you'd gotten into the who's who of students in American colleges. At age 20, you had your own store, like a green store, right? Mm-hmm. Between 2007 and 2009, you ran the
Convention and Visitor Bureau Board. Yeah, I was president of the board.
All right, you have to go into some of the history here, and it's not touting your own horn, but it's because the person in this chair was asking. Will you go through the history?
The brief history is, my father was very civically involved. He actually ran for mayor of my hometown in Ohio 3 times.
And what was your hometown in Ohio?
Greenville, Ohio. Slightly bigger than Fairfield. County seat, agricultural county, very similar. So there was no real culture shock when I came out here. Yeah. So he would, as children, he would say to me and my siblings, "You want to see your dad on TV?" And we'd say, "Yeah." And the city council meetings in my hometown were filmed live by the local public access channel, and he would go.
Jason Strong.
Yes.
Hi, Jason.
Yes, and so they would. Our council requires a previous submittal of a little form before you can address the council. But I guess in my hometown, you could come and just
be there.
Yeah. So he would come, and he'd always have something, mostly to complain about. I mean, he has worked with the city to get things done, so maybe I saw some of that from him, but he would get up and talk about something. And so that must have planted a seed in my mind that there's this engagement from city government. It's not these people somewhere doing something, but they're there to hear you out. And
it's the attendance. It's actually being there doing something. And I imagine your father, even in a subtle way, even if he wasn't like, saying to the kids, "Hey, why don't you think about doing this kind of thing?" It was mentoring in that way, right?
Yeah, and I never really thought of myself. I wasn't student body president in high school or anything. It was when I came to the university, I started getting more involved. Became a student senator, and I was on part of the student sustainability club, and that's when this trend of being pushed forward by my peers began. I didn't ask to be the president. They said Michael should be the president. I was. Same thing with the Convention and Visitors Bureau Board. They were looking for a board president. I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I didn't put my name in a hat.
Have you been in the right place at the right time? That's how you're attributing?
It must be. And then they say, "Why not Michael?" So I say, okay, well, if I'm elected by my peers, who can say no to that? Right. And then just do my best. So I don't know. I guess that in a way validates feeling that those positions were right, that other people saw something. And I think that in a sense, I like that idea of leaders being chosen or pushed in their place, rather than super ambitious people who like power, seeking it.
Excellent.
Nicely said. Yeah. So even with the city council, that came at a time in my life. My children were living out of state, and I had too much free time on my hands, and so I essentially started volunteering at every opportunity. And when I saw this opening on the council and the Go Green plan was there, I just saw it as another volunteer opportunity.
Beautiful. And the reward was enough people voted for you, so...
Yeah, that was really rewarding. I'm glad that I did not run unopposed, which happens a lot in a small town.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that...
What were the debates like?
Debates, I didn't really ever get a debate.
Even in like the news where it was in the papers where it was like, okay,
there were profiles, yeah. And I think the thing that really struck me was when they asked, the Fairfield Ledger interviewed me. They said, "Why are you running for city council?" And I just said it without thinking. I said, "To help people." It just came out of my mouth, to help people.
Wow.
And I think that's what I remind myself of all the time. Like, why am I in this? It's just to try to help individuals or the town in general in some way to ease their life or make their life better in some way, and that's my payoff. The $150 a month I get is not my payoff.
What? They're paying you that much, young man. We have to talk to you. What are some of the? Okay, your heart's involved. Obviously, this is what's going on. What are some of the issues that come up? What are some of the outstanding things that you'd like to get to? That maybe you're already working on behind the scenes, and maybe people don't really know that right now, but you're in there because you know this is the right thing. We need to get this done.
Well, I think some of my main areas of interest have been health and wellness. So we have the Blue Zones, which is just now kind of rekindled. We were in the running to be one of these top 10 cities that they would site visit and potentially choose, and then suddenly we were told around the new year, oh, we're in the small group, the small city category, the under 10,000 population.
Right.
We're going to deal with you guys later, and we're going to pick large cities to start. So we felt kind of brushed and set aside, and now we're in the top 10 small community category for site visits. Our site visit should be early September. So we're looking into how much do we want to pursue that, and what are the benefits if there's not going to be funding involved. Is it still worth pursuing for other reasons?
To at least have a reputation of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there possible funding that will come out of that then?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's hard to tell right now. So what's interesting is I had been on this this group that put together a Jefferson County Wellness Action Plan in 2011. So we were ahead of the curve. Even before the Blue Zone thing started, we had this plan to how to make the town, the community, even healthier. So some of the areas I like specifically are bikeability and walkability. People having alternatives to driving to get around town. Local food production is a big one for me. And
that's very popular in town right now. Yeah. With the Grow Local. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another way. It's actually it's a form of economic development, as is another one of my passions, renewable energy and energy efficiency. If you can save money, if you're wasting money on lights and different appliances, and then you switch to something that's using less, and then the savings, the difference in what you were spending before and what you're now spending is your payback for the investment you made, and next thing you know, after 5 years, you're keeping money. Right. A penny saved is a penny earned.
Or in this case, $1 earned. Maybe.
Exactly, or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the case of the city. So another project I did was a big energy efficiency project for the city, and I'd like to see more of that, and renewable energy, and all these things that keep local money local.
Yeah, very nice. Were you associated with, oh, by the way, I just want to put a plug in here. Was Ken Daly associated with any of this?
Oh, yeah, Ken Daly is the main
Ken Daly
guy.
from MUM?
Yes, he's been real big on the Blue Zones and just the health, the wellness action plan. He's our director, essentially.
He's genuinely concerned. That guy, I mean, he can go around the clock about on this. And his office with the 3 Mac screens, where he's like monitoring progress at all times. He's an amazing human. I got to work for him briefly, and he's one of my favorite bosses ever because he was. I accused Dominic Rabelais and his brother Philip of being the ever-ready bunnies, but really it's Ken Daly.
Yeah, he's amazing. He is amazing.
When you look at the sustainable, we're starting to have a presence as far as sustainable living. We're getting a reputation for that in addition to some of the other things that Fairfield is famous for right now, or getting popular for. What's your prediction as far as maybe, where would you like to see us? Not the prediction, but where would you like to see us in about, let's say, 5 years? Both reputation-wise, maybe as a leader in the country, whatever those kinds of thoughts that you're having. What are you thinking like that?
Well, that's the thing about our Go Green plan has so many initiatives that we're already working on 80-some% of them. But
what are some of those?
Some of the initiatives do have to do with, a lot of them have to do with our greenhouse gas emissions. So we had a study done in, I think it was 2008 or 2009. It kind of gave us the before shot of what our emissions are, and that's basically based on both commercial and residential electric use, gas use, and then transportation and all that kind of thing. So there's so much to do there. I mean, it's wonderful to see groups like Ideal Energy and getting these local businesses and people to put on these solar arrays.
Solar power? You mean like solar-powered Crew FM?
Yes, another one. The city has been toying around with the idea of a wind turbine, a community wind project, but the wind here isn't great. So the sustainability coordinator, Scott Tim, who works for the city, he and I want to take a trip down to Columbia, Missouri, and that city has about 5 different flavors of solar energy initiatives, and one in particular is very exciting that there's no down payment from the city. A private company comes and installs them and then charges the city the same price for electricity from the solar panels as they're paying for coal or whatever you're getting from
and we have another thing coming into the mix, which is geothermal, right?
Yeah. We're having that. The middle school's doing a geothermal.
Yeah.
So it's coming together. It takes the whole community. It takes government. It takes private businesses. It takes people, and they're just in their homes. So where I'd like to see us in 5 years would just, I suppose, be more of the goals in that plan reached or closer to being reached. So more renewable energy, more energy efficiency, more local food production. There's simple things like the Parks and Rec could switch to a non-toxic yard fertilizer for the different parks, like the square and that kind of thing. We're looking into that. Community gardens. We have a community orchard. We can do more community orchards. More walkability, more bikeability. I mean, the sky's the limit. But in 5 years, I would love to see that we've made some real progress. And one thing that helps is procuring grants. And the city of Fairfield is pretty successful at that. So we'll look at that option and just any little changes that can be made. We're going to be doing, I'm working with Scott Tim, the sustainability coordinator. We're going to be having, we want to bring in an expert from outside of town to talk to our city employees about energy efficiency, about saving electricity, simple things.
Nice.
We installed all this technology, but like, let's say a programmable thermostat doesn't do anything if it's not programmed. You have to program it to, lower the heat at night and then raise it before people come in, or vice versa with the air conditioning.
That's a good point. Most people just put it at whatever the temperature is and they leave it alone.
And that doesn't produce any savings. So
I gotta figure that
teach them how to program, and it doesn't affect any comfort level, because if you program it to get the temperature back to where you like it before you come in and no one's there at night, you don't need to be heating or cooling a building to that same level when no one's there.
Yeah.
You can keep it lower and then bring it back to comfort level.
Well, another thing I noticed is that we have all these appliances and all these things that are plugged into sockets and they're not being used, but there is a little bit of electricity at least. It's still running through them, isn't there?
Yeah, they call that phantom use. And you can get a strip that you can just flip off.
Yeah.
At night, and then your computer, your TV, the things that are electronic devices. You need, obviously, your refrigerator. You don't want to turn that off at night,
right?
Because you might have a mess in the mornings. Don't.
How often I turn off my refrigerator?
Don't turn off your refrigerators, folks. I didn't tell you to.
If somebody wants to get involved, you were an elected official, but if somebody wants to get involved in local government, what do you suggest they do?
Well, that's the wonderful thing, is that almost every project I've worked on was a public-private partnership. The Quiet Zone absolutely was. The dog park, all the structures, the new library that was built. I mean, these things, the convention center, these things are not government-driven. It's a partnership between the government and individuals. So there are infinite ways to get involved.
Is there any website anybody can go to maybe just get some thoughts about where to
plug in?
Yeah,
you could. Well, if you're interested in volunteering, that's one of my passions. I'm the president of the Volunteer Center. So we have our website, fairfieldvolunteercenter.com, I believe, or maybe it's .org. And then the center's located inside the library, kind of kiosk in the middle there. and we can plug you into whatever your interest.
Cool.
You
Nice.
Find volunteering.
Nice.
In terms of if you're specifically interested in green initiatives, you can talk to our sustainability coordinator, Scott Tim. You can get his info at City Hall. There is a Go Green group of citizens, and they meet occasionally. I'm not sure how active they are now, but there's actually a Green Business Council. Mm-hmm. I know some people who are on that. Any interest a person has, they can find some way to plug in.
This was barely getting the tip of the iceberg here. We're going to have you back like regularly. What do you think, Fairfield? This is introducing Fairfield to Fairfield. The purpose of the show, and I really appreciate that you had some time to take out today. I know we had to negotiate your time because you're such a busy man, but I think we've got to do this regularly. You have to. I mean, if it's okay with you, because then we can just keep getting updated on what the latest is. You are really truly you're a slugger, and I really appreciate everything you're doing for the community. And I think other people do too. All right, we're going to move on to our musical segment of the show with Heather Miller and Gavin Jones. But before we do, again, Michael, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the second part of Fairfield 2.0. By the way, I'm Mike Ragogna. I'm not sure I mentioned that earlier. But today we're trying something new with the show, and we have Heather Miller and we have Gavin Jones with us. Again, introducing Fairfield to Fairfield, the new catchphrase for Fairfield 2.0. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to have you guys play some songs, but I would love to get some history. Heather, I know you from seeing you in town a lot, playing a lot, and also you happen to be in back of the counter at a certain place. I forget the name of that place. Unknown.
Paradise.
Really. That's it. I can never remember. Actually, we had Merritt and we had Steve Giacomini on here, and that was a blast. And so this is sort of continuing that tradition. Mm-hmm. Heather, what is your history as far as Fairfield? You grew up here, right?
I did grow up here since I was 5. And went to the Maharishi school, went to the college. I've gotten out a few times.
You've escaped
a few times, but come back.
Right, exactly.
I do love it here. My family's here, and so many good friends, and the cafe is amazing. And Crew, I have a radio show on Crew. So
a radio show on solar-powered Crew FM, which is at 100.1 on your FM dial.
Yeah, KRUFM.com, anywhere in the world.
Nice. And what kind of artists do you play on that show? As if he didn't know.
The show is called Lyrical Venus, and I focus on female singer-songwriters.
Yes, and you play quite often, actually. You play one of my favorite artists ever, Dar Williams.
Yes.
Yes.
One of my favorite artists ever as well. She was sort of one of my inspiring seeds.
As far as writing and performing?
Yeah.
So we'll go into that. What is the secret origin of this superhero called Heather Miller?
Well, Dar has the Iowa song, of course, and which
I'm always tempted to just sort of like do the whole lighter thing too. I think she wanted that, by the way.
Probably. Yeah. So one of my friends from MUM brought that song, and I just was so impressed with someone. I find Iowa to be beautiful, but it's a subtle beauty. Not everybody picks up on it. And so to have somebody come from out of town and see the beauty was really inspiring to me. Yeah. And then going more into her catalog, she's a little weird. And
wonderfully weird.
In a beautiful way.
She is.
That made me feel very much more at home with myself. I was like, if she's allowed to get up on stage and say that in front of hundreds of people, like, maybe it's okay if I do this or that thing,
One of the great songs of all time, I think, is When I Was a Boy. Mm-hmm. And February. February is the best breakup song I think I've ever heard.
Gorgeous.
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's, we have Joni Mitchell on the over here on the table that no one can see. The lyrics, and what is this? The complete poems and lyrics of Joni Mitchell. Oh, wow. Given to me by my boss at Razor and Tie. My boss both. Craig physically gave it to me, but my boss is at Razor and Tie when I worked there, Razor and Tie being Dar Williams' label. But she's amazing. Joni has written an incredible, she has a body of work that's phenomenal, but Dar has other angles. The Babysitter's here. I mean, how do you there are songs that she comes this close to making you bawl, and then she takes it away, and then she's like, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. Now, your songs, very similar. You have that song about Jonah and the whale, right? Mm-hmm. Go into Can you go into what got you into, before we get into like that song, go into what inspires you as far as a writer? What's your process?
Yeah, wow.
And you went to songwriter school too.
I did.
So I threw all that out there and now I'll shut up.
Where do we start?
Can you let me answer, please?
There's so much.
Sorry.
Yeah. Wow.
This is like Dar would do that.
Well, yeah, I wanted to write more songs, and I actually started writing songs in a music class at MUM where I was required to write a melody every day, and I didn't have enough proficiency on guitar or piano or anything to write that melody, so I had to sing them, and yeah, sort of inspired by Dar, I was like, let's go to the journals and find some stuff, and after, there's only, I don't know, maybe some people can keep milking it, but there's only so much of that sort of like angsty, like, why doesn't he love me sort of stuff you want to get into. So I started looking around, what are some other things I can write about? Who else, what else, what other stories can I tell? Yeah. And then how can I get them across in a good way? And that's when I started getting interested in the song school.
Song school. So Song school, actually, this is the one in Colorado.
Yeah.
And this is the one that 3/4 of Fairfield goes to every year. And they all stay at, I was going to accuse it isn't Robert Reeder's house, it's another person's house, David somebody's, right?
David Butler, I think
David
it
Butler.
is.
Everybody like flocks to his house. Hi, David. Hi, Robert. But it's one of those things where it's a community. I really love it. It's like the community spirit of everybody kind of going there and learning together, too.
Yeah.
What is the experience like at Sound School?
It's amazing. It was the first place I went to where it's in Lyons, Colorado, which is between Boulder and Estes Park, so it's a beautiful location.
Especially with all the flames in the background and the
Well,
the
yeah,
smoke.
this year maybe a little intense, but generally, yeah, very beautiful. And they only take like 150, 175 songwriters. They bring in amazing teachers from all over the country, and from Berkeley, touring musicians making a living touring.
Including, I think, one of your teachers last year was Livingston Taylor. Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't want to say he's a close personal friend. He's kind of not. But I've done projects where I've actually interacted with him and his ex-wife, I guess, by this point, Maggie.
Okay.
But that was a beautiful... I knew him during some interesting years, and I heard that at Song School this year, certain teachers have different techniques, and that... well, I guess I should stop there, but the students kind of react differently to the different teachers. It's almost like the first 2 or 3 days you're getting used to what the teacher's routine is before you even get into the concepts of what they're teaching.
Yeah, it just depends. And it's a very free-form thing. Like, it's out on a ranch and there's these little tents set up, and they're really, it's like if you're sitting in a class and it's not working for you, get up and go to another one, and there's no judgment. It's very beautiful in that way. And you'll find sometimes people just kind of go and like little hummingbird dip into each of the classes, and sometimes you just find the teacher that like that's the person who you're really relating to, and you just stick with them for the 4 days.
And then it's followed up by a concert, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there's a folks festival the weekend afterwards. So like Sunday night through Thursday is the song school, and then Friday through that Sunday is the festival, and so that's where you also get to hear most of the teachers are performing
right there
on one stage or the other.
Who were some of the teachers this last year?
Oh man.
Or in the last couple of years,
yeah,
who sticks out more?
I took a class from Aeneas Mitchell last year.
Aeneas Mitchell, a frequent visitor at Fairfield.
Baby, yeah. And who else? Steve Seskin's there frequently, pretty much all the time. Pat Pattison.
Mary Chapin Carpenter, you were about to say?
No, Mary Gaucher.
Mary Gaucher. Mm-hmm. What about David Wilcox? Does he ever come through?
David Wilcox was like, it's like songwriter church. Everyone starts crying because it's like, he's so affirming. And that's what the great thing about Song School, too, is that like, you're with a community of people who really, it's not like, sometimes you feel like kind of like, I'm this weird person. Like, why do I have this compulsion to write songs, And everybody's like, oh, what's your day job? And here it's like, what kind of songs do you write? There's no questioning or just a sort of like, I think it's another thing that Dar gave me is feeling like, oh, I'm not alone in this desire to share my music with the world. Yeah. I'm okay to be here and to do this, so.
And every year at the end of that, you do feel like you've come out with something, and you can really feel like your stuff is and your songwriting abilities grow out of that.
Absolutely.
And you love performing. We see you playing all the time. That's beautiful. Can we talk to this guy for a little bit?
Please,
All right. And you are
Gavin Jones.
Gavin Jones. Gavin Jones, ladies and gentlemen. And this was Heather Miller, ladies and gentlemen. Still is. Gavin, what is your storied history with Fairfield? And why did you go away?
I grew up in Fairfield. I moved to Fairfield when I was really young, probably 2 or 3. My parents are...
What? You weren't born here?
Was not born here.
Get out right now!
I don't think anyone was born here.
That's a good point. That's really... That's right.
One of my brothers was.
But I lived in Fairfield for about 15 years before going to college in Madison, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And now I'm just back for a couple short months.
Only a couple of short months?
Just a couple short months.
Great.
Although they do seem pretty long. They're pretty long months.
Well, it's been a hot summer, too.
Really hot,
Every day is a little long,
Yep.
a little longer than I remember. But this has been like a really intense summer as far as the heat. No, there's no such thing as global warming. Anyway, but I digress. When you come to town, do you feel like, the hometown, I don't say hero, but you've come back to your hometown and you're feeling like all settled in again? Or
No.
What is it like lately for you?
It's different because I haven't been here for 5 years. I really stepped out of the Fairfield world, Fairfield sphere, when I left. My mom actually lives in a separate house. I'm living with my mom for the summer. She actually lives in a different house than she did when I was here. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like home at all. None of my friends are here, from high school. Right. So it's a different feel. It feels like a different place.
But you're getting quality time with your mom.
I'm getting quality time with Mom. Yeah.
Do you want to give a shout out to your mom, please?
Hey, Mom. She probably won't watch this.
Oh, wait a minute! Everybody's watching this show. Wait a minute, young man. Do you know what? What are you looking at as far as your future? You both are wonderful performers, and I feel like when first time I heard you, your voice was one of the first things that hit me. You took a style that most people, I'll be blunt, shy away from. Exploring the high end, exploring the falsetto end of the voice. Most people don't do that unless they're doing soul. Because then they sing like this. But
Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees, or a Bee Gee if you want to be a Bee Gee. Mach 2. But if you want to, but for you, you've got this sort of. You've got this beautiful. You're utilizing a part of the voice that most guys, especially, shy away from. But in your case, it's really beautiful, and it's like, yes, please, if you don't mind, do more. And we're going to hear that later. But what is your musical evolution? What got you into singing and songwriting?
Well, I started playing guitar junior year of high school, so 2006. And
that was in Fairfield?
That was in Fairfield, yep, Fairfield High School. And I really started playing guitar because I wanted to have a way to sing, have an outlet for singing and for music when I went to college. When I was in high school, I was in different choirs at Fairfield High School and stuff. And so that was my musical outlet. And I didn't know if I would do the same in college. So I picked up a guitar so I could continue to sing.
Wow.
And
nice.
As I went through college, I did a little bit of songwriting, a little bit of playing, but I did get involved in choir in college, and so that was really my main music outlet until about a year ago. And so I've really only been playing guitar and performing seriously for about a year, but as part of choirs, I always was the high tenor part. So I've never thought twice about singing high falsetto lines. This kind of seems normal.
And you've been doing it for a year. Singer-songwriting, doing your own songs, doing like that for a year.
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing. I wrote my first song that I wrote was maybe about 4 years ago, but it was very intermittent. When I'd actually write a song. So it's becoming something more regular for me now, especially performing. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun.
He's this good, and it happened that late in life. I hate you. And Keith Dubois. No, we like Keith Dubois too, but he's another story like that. Another fine Fairfieldian from Cafe P, booking the Wednesday night open mics, which is where I think I first heard you.
Probably. Yeah.
Both first heard you both there. And I go running up to you, please would you be in my show? Please would you be in my show? So with Keith is another one. He actually apparently hadn't started this until like a few years ago, and he's well, let's just say he's so much younger than me, but But if we weren't going to say that, he's like in my range, and he's my age range, and it's just like, and he's so good. And I'm just really amazed that it just goes to show you, it's at any time in your life that you feel inspired that it kicks in.
Yeah.
Where are you heading with it? Where are you heading with this, young man? You said you're going to have an EP or something, or you have an EP.
I do have
right?
an EP. Yeah, I recorded in a friend's closet in Madison this last.
I know what this is like, and you get some of the best sounds actually.
It's great. Yeah.
That was your booth, in other words. You meant by
it was my sound booth. Yeah, exactly. So, self-released or whatever. Did this last year.
Cool.
And I have no idea where it's going to take me. Probably, I don't know if I'm going to pursue it as a career option.
Well, I'll tell you right now, a career option, I'm not quite sure of these days. It's so hard to figure out how to market yourselves. I can really tell you guys are doing it for the love of it, because you're not uber marketing yourself. You're doing the essentials to make yourself happy. If people are going to buy your EP or download it or whatever, that's part of how you're expressing yourself creatively. You're not going for, I've got to get this in, like, name a latest TV show that's the hottest thing. You aren't going for it like that.
Yeah,
there are certain people who do that.
Yeah, I'm not banking on making $1 off of my music. That's just not what I'm trying to do.
And it sounds, and I don't hate to say it like this, but it sounds like it and it feels like it. Although when you're in song school, isn't the temptation to sort of network and see if you can get your songs with other people, or at least co-write with other people who are getting placements?
It happens. I mean, there's one thing that I've seen happen frequently at the song school is people will end up going on tour with each other after meeting. Like Coyote Grace did some string of shows with Melissa Farrick after meeting at the song school. She was a teacher one of the years. So that happens, and people definitely take the opportunity to co-write, but I think some of it's just because, like, especially with a lot of these, independent touring musicians and the sort of folk circuit, that's when they get to see each other. Like, that's the gathering place. That's where you get to hang out with your friends, because otherwise everybody's working all the time, so nice. That happens too.
And what about, speaking of gatherings, do you get together with a group of musicians yourself and kind of jam ever?
Pretty rarely.
Yeah.
For the most part, I just play for half an hour before I go to bed or something. I just, that's basically it. That's when I have the creative juices flowing or something. Who knows?
Interesting. Now you're leaving us soon, aren't you?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, great. Get out! I can't stand this anymore, you guys. Leaving Fairfield. No, we were talking about this interesting phenomenon, and I've certainly experienced it because I've tried unsuccessfully to leave many times. I kid. But I also explained to Fairfield whatever episode that was, we call them episodes, show that was, where, although it seems like it was an episode, he's having an episode, but I explained to the camera, hoping someone was watching, that there are these, I've been leaving for the past however long, and then I realized, no, this is a community that I still really haven't explored. I'm not done yet. I'm not done with Fairfield yet, although you put it interestingly off camera before, which is like, it's more like Fairfield is not done with you yet, which is, there's that element. But I'm really, I wish you all the luck, out in the real world. It seems like your craft is just getting better and better. Every time I see you, it's just smoother and cooler. And the same for you, but I see you all the time. Lyrical Venus, we had just the one shout out about Lyrical Venus is that you're always playing some really great singer-songwriter stuff. I really appreciate that you're carrying a flag like that, because these days sometimes it's not the hippest thing in the world to be associated with like folk and singer-songwriting and all that, but you're out there and you committed to it. You're saying, no, there are things you need to listen to. And I appreciate that personally, just from listening to your show. I'm always hearing something and learning something from it too.
Yeah.
All right, both of you, please come back. You in another 5 years when you come back. You're gonna come back soon? You're gonna come back at least in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I'll be back probably in about a year.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be living in South America next year.
You are? Where are you gonna be?
So in Uruguay, in Montevideo.
What, you've lined up something?
Yes, I'm gonna be a missionary.
You're gonna be a missionary?
Yep.
Holy cow. And you're also gonna be doing music, I'm imagining.
Yeah, probably in the same capacity I do now.
But I bet the culture has a little effect on your writing and what you do.
I'll probably start singing in Spanish.
There you go. All right, Fairfield. Thank you again for visiting the set of Fairfield 2.0 and all the fun visitors we had today. Heather Miller, Gavin Jones, It's been fun, and now you're going to play a couple of things, I imagine. Thank you very much for that. And also, Fairfield, we need to get you here. Remember that this show is introducing Fairfield to Fairfield, so we'd like to introduce you as well, okay? We'll say goodbye here, but it's time for some music, and take care, Fairfield.
My name is Heather Miller, and I wrote this song last year in Texas during the droughts, and it seems to be applying this year here in Iowa. It's called Rain Song. Everybody needs a rain song, something to sing when it's been dry too long. Everybody needs a rain song, so come on, rain. It's so hot, the blacktop is crying, the potted plants on the porch are all dying. The grass is greener in some other state. We're watching the sky and asking it why. All we can do is pray. Everybody needs a rain song, something to sing when it's been dry too long. Everybody needs a rain song, so come on, rain. Come some other time we may get floods, and we'll forget about how dry it was. The only constant is the weather will change, and we'll keep watching the sky and asking it why. All we can do is pray. Everybody needs a rain song, something to sing when it's been dry too long. Everybody needs a rain song, so come on, rain. Everybody needs a rain song, something to sing when it's been dry too long. Everybody needs a rain song, so come on, rain. So come on, rain. So come on, rain. And this one's called Jonah's Whale. I am just a simple whale. I sing my way across the ocean. But when Jonah's ship set sail, an age-old plan was put in motion. I was appointed on the day that I was born, and I won't spite the hand that feeds me. He doesn't ask too often and he doesn't ask too much, so I will do as my Lord needs me. When they threw Jonah to the waves, I was away struggle in my gut was over. I heaved him out upon the beach. I turned to face the deep and dove there, 'cause I was appointed on the day that I was born. And I won't spite the hand that feeds me. He doesn't ask too often and he doesn't ask too much. So I will do as my Lord needs me. I was appointed on the day that I was born. And I won't spite the hand that feeds me. He doesn't ask too often and he doesn't ask too much. So I will do as my Lord needs me. I am just a simple whale. I sing my way across the ocean.
My name's Gavin Jones, and these are a couple songs that I wrote. Someone's hanging around, all around your head, hanging like a cloud, ready to let it out. 22 years you grow, life has hardened your heart, harder than a stone in the fire. What do I say when I feel so twisted off of this life to someone else instead? Someone's hanging around, someone's been breaking down the walls in this house. Oh, the walls are coming down. Someone's brought me a lamp. My feet are following the path. Is tunneling so dark now as it was just before. Oh, what do I say when I feel so twisted, but offer this life to someone else instead? Oh, what do I say when I feel so twisted? Offer this life to someone else.
twisted offer this life to someone else instead. Oh, what do I say when I feel so twisted? Offer this life to someone else.
All right, that song was called Twisted. Wrote it about a year ago in June 2011, and this next one is called The Fountain. It's the title track to my EP that came out about 3 months ago, called The Fountain. And a little more finger-picking style in this song, and I hope you enjoy it.
Are you drunk? Are you thirsty? Are you filled? Still empty? Are you shamed? Are you torn? Are you bruised? Are you scarred? Are you lifeless? Are you dead or wish you were? I've been broke. I've been teased. I've been hated. Oh, it's not so easy, no. When you've been in darkness, you've been in debt. You've been misused, you've been misled. You've been misunderstood or split apart. When the world has given up on you, I know a place where the water runs free, as cold as the winter snow, and sweet like honey. Would you go if I told you how to get there? Would you go if I showed you the road? I'll go back again to the water's edge, wash my clothes again in your fountain. Been there so many times, walking out of the light. Lord, here I am, here I am. Lord, here I am. Lord, here I am. If I told you how to get there, would you go?